Chapter 23. Elizabeth. "Oh my gosh, what happened?" Emma asked as Carl helped Elizabeth into the clinic. "A man from my past who didn't like that I left him tried to take me back," Elizabeth said grimly, wincing as Carl helped her to the bed. "And speaking of Jacob," she said, turning to Carl, "you better go see if you can help the men figure out what else he has planned." "I can't leave you," he said, clasping her hand. "Yes, you can. You don't know Jacob. He's maniacal, and if he's working with an outlaw, then he has something big planned. You have to find out what it is." "Go," Emma said. "I will take good care of Elizabeth." Carl chewed on his lip but finally nodded. "I'll be back as soon as I can." As soon as he was gone, Emma began examining Elizabeth. "Can you tell me where it hurts?" Elizabeth held out her palms. "These, for sure, plus my knees. He pushed me to the ground, so my hip is sore. Plus I fell off the horse, hit my backside and my head. I think they used something to spook her." "Okay, let's start with cleaning your hands and knees first." Emma grabbed a piece of cloth and dipped it in the water bowl, but as soon as she wiped it across Elizabeth's palms, she gasped. Emma's features folded in sympathy. "Sorry, this is going to hurt for a bit." Elizabeth nodded and pressed her lips together. Slowly, the pain began to ease in her palms, though they were still red and angry. Her knees came next, but before Emma could assess the other issues from the fall, a bell began to ring out. Elizabeth's eyes snapped up. "What is that?" Emma's eyes were wide with fear. "That's the town bell. They only ring it when danger is affecting the whole town. We have to lock the door and hide." "Hide? But what if this is about Jacob? Shouldn't we try to help? And get ourselves killed? No, we wait." Elizabeth looked desperately toward the door which Emma was locking. "But Carl is out there. William." The lock clicked and Emma turned. "William is a great shot, and the men will protect us, whatever Jacob is planning. Now come on, we have to get behind some shelter." She hurried back across the room and grabbed Elizabeth's hand, pulling her to the floor behind the bed. Then she turned it over as if to protect them. "What do we do now?" Elizabeth asked. Emma looked at her and grabbed her hand. "Now we pray." Elizabeth took a deep breath and closed her eyes. As Emma began to pray, Elizabeth joined in. "Lord, please keep the men safe. Keep the town safe." The sound of gunshots caused Elizabeth to jump. She tightened her grip on Emma's hands. "Please keep us safe." There were a few more shots, and then the gunfire stopped. Elizabeth's eyes opened and she met Emma's gaze. "Is it over? Can we go find them?" Emma shook her head. "Not yet. We have to be sure." Elizabeth nodded, but her heart pounded in her chest. How was she supposed to sit here, not knowing if Carl was okay out there? It was her fault that Jacob had come to Sage Creek, after all. A knock at the door caused her to jump, but then her heart lifted when she heard the voice on the other side. "Elizabeth? Emma? Are you two okay in there?" "Carl? We're fine." She turned to Emma. "We have to open the door." Emma nodded. "You stay here. I'll make sure it's really safe." Elizabeth watched from around the corner of the bed as Emma made her way to the windows, looked outside, and then opened the door. Carl rushed in first, crossing the room to pick up Elizabeth as she tried to stand. Before he threw his arms around her and pulled her to his chest, she saw William envelop Emma in a similar gesture. Her heart swelled as she realized Carl had run to her and not to Emma. She knew at that moment that whatever had been between them was gone now, and the wall of protection she'd placed around her heart crumbled. She'd finally found a man she could love. "What happened out there?" she asked. "We heard gunfire." Carl pulled back so he could look into her face. "We managed to get Jacob to tell us what he'd done. Evidently, he'd found a band of outlaws and convinced them to attack the town in exchange for money.
Who knows if he would have actually paid them, but when they rode into town and saw we had Jacob in custody, it only took a few warning shots to get them to leave. It's over, Elizabeth. Jacob confessed to breaking into the clinic and cutting the Johnsons' fence as well. He was hoping to turn the town against you so you would leave.
And he almost succeeded. She pressed her lips together, hope filling her for the first time in ages. But could it really be that easy? Would the townspeople finally accept her?
Yes, he did, but I promise he will never hurt you again. The sheriff is sending him to the Huntsville prison.
And the town? Do you think they'll finally accept me?
I know they will. They're good people at heart.
Good people. Carl, I need to ask a favor of you. It was a lot to ask, but she knew she wouldn't be truly happy until she tried.
What is it?
He asked, and Elizabeth took a deep breath.